Okay.
Folks are ready.
I would like to call to order the special meeting of the Darien Police Commission, our 2,378th meeting. First order of business is acceptance of minutes.
So moved.
I think it's just me. Second. All in favor.
All right.
Correspondence, Chief?
We have a letter here in your packet commending Sergeant Scombros. This is from a resident of Norwalk. The person was trying to get a taxi and couldn't get it. Scombros happened to be down in the area of Dunkin' Donuts, and Sergeant Scombros was thankfully able to get them on their way. So the person took the time to write a nice letter here commending his service.
Excellent.
Very nice for them to do that.
And we have
I have a personal letter
yes,
here
you do.
From the director of the FBI congratulating me on my promotion to chief. Much appreciated from the director to take the time and send that.
I agree.
I'll certainly go in the family heirloom box. Not every day you get a letter from the director of the FBI.
It is not.
And it was something good from the director of the FBI as well. So much appreciated.
I agree.
Nice. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Department activity, is that Captain?
Yes. It's been a few weeks, so bear with me. There's a little extensive here, but start with traffic collisions from September 12th to today. We had 33 minor accidents in Darien. 30% of them involved minor injuries. 3 of them involved pedestrians. The 3 pedestrian incidents were at Post Road at Ledge Road. The operator of the vehicle that struck the pedestrian was at fault. Post Road just west of Corbin, in that incident, the pedestrian was at fault crossing outside of the crosswalk. And Post Road and Day Street was an unsafe backing type, starting type accident where a pedestrian was struck during a parking maneuver of another vehicle, and the vehicle operator was at fault. 42% of the collisions we had in that time period were on the Post Road. For accidents. On September 14th, Darien Police Department, in cooperation with the Depot Youth Center, kicked off its 10th year of the Cops and Kids Adventure Program. Officers participated in the Darien Domestic Abuse Council's Family Fun Day and the Depot Youth Center Community Health and Wellness Fair on October 5th. September 13th, Officers Martin and Gannon responded aboard Darien Marine Unit M127 for the report of a kayaker who had possibly capsized in rough conditions. Officers located a male clinging to an overturned kayak and 3 to 4 foot swells. He was brought on board and fortunately was not injured. September 16th, Middlesex Middle School SRO was alerted by a student that someone had etched a swastika and Star of David into the partition in a boys' restroom on the 3rd floor. This was the second incident of this type reported at the school in the week. September 18th, approximately 10 a.m., officers responded to a report of an erratic operator on the Post Road. The vehicle was located, and with the assistance of K9 Kenny, the operator, a 45-year-old Norwalk man, was arrested for DWI, possession of narcotics, possession of drug paraphernalia, and operating an unregistered motor vehicle. September 19th, a 38-year-old Darien woman and a 38-year-old Darien man were both charged with disorderly conduct for their involvement in a domestic violence incident. September 21st, 18-year-old Stanford man was arrested for DWI after the vehicle he was operating left the roadway on West Avenue, struck a utility pole, and caught fire. The man was uninjured during the incident. However, the utility pole and power line subsequently fell and blocked the roadway. West Avenue was closed for several hours to repair the damage. On September 22nd, approximately 2:45 a.m., 27-year-old Stanford man was arrested for DWI after his vehicle was observed being operated erratically at a high rate of speed. On September 22nd, also at 2:45 a.m., officers responded to the report of an assault behind Ernie's Cafe. Upon arrival, the suspect was identified as a 29-year-old Stanford man. The suspect attempted to leave the scene, became combative, fought with officers, subsequently charged with assault 3rd and interfering with an officer. September 24th, 57-year-old North Carolina man, formerly of Darien, was arrested for unauthorized disclosure of DCF records. During the overnight hours on September 24th, 10 unlocked vehicles were burglarized in the Norotan Heights section of town. September 26th, the 2011 Toyota Sienna was stolen from the Darien train station. The complainant stated it was unlocked and the key may have been inside. September 28th, approximately 2:30 a.m., a 26-year-old Stanford man was arrested for DWI when he was observed traveling through a red traffic signal on the post road near entrance 11 northbound. On September 28th, a moped that was parked in the Roten Heights train station was stolen. September 30th, a motorized scooter that was parked at the Roten Heights train station was stolen. Officer Leslie Silva coordinated another successful Coffee with a Cop event at Cafe Nero on the Post Road on October 2nd. October 4th, detectives arrested a 41-year-old Stanford man and a 51-year-old Stanford man for larceny, forgery, and identity theft charges from a check fraud investigation that began in June of this year. On October 5th, at approximately 1 a.m., a 33-year-old Darien man was arrested for DWI and possession of narcotics after an officer pulled him over on Mansfield Avenue for traveling fast. October 5th, 39-year-old New Haven woman was arrested for forgery and larceny charges stemming from a check fraud investigation that initiated in July of 2019. During this time period, we had 251 traffic stops, 61 infractions issued. The last thing I'll add is our detectives did more good work as a result of a robbery we had at the Walgreens several months back. They made an arrest that night, but also just yesterday they were able to execute a warrant that they had secured a few months back after learning that NYPD had come into contact with our suspect that we had the warrant for in late August, and they held him in custody until our extradition just yesterday. So more good work by our detective bureau.
They've been busy.
That's great. Yeah. Captain, a question. 33 accidents, minor accidents in about a month. How does that rank for a typical month? Is that more than average, less than average?
I think that's a little high. It's on the higher end. I don't have the statistics in front of me for the rest of the year, but our records division actually assisted me with this new report for the first time, so feeling my way through it, but 33 does kind of seem high. Yeah.
Thank you.
As far as the percentage of accidents that occurred on the post road, I think that's pretty normal.
Thanks.
All right, old business? Anyone? New business?
Okay. So, we have a new commissioner with us.
We do.
Commissioner Cunningham is with us now, so we have some housekeeping things that we have to take care of. We need a commission chairman, and we need a commission secretary. So the commission will have, someone from the commission will have to have a motion to make a motion to have someone be the commission chairman. Once we get that taken care of, we'll need a motion to have a commission secretary.
I'd like to take this opportunity to make a motion that Kim Hofford be named the new commission chairman.
Second.
That's an aye.
All in favor? I'm sure it's hot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Commission chairman. Now we need a secretary.
I would like to nominate Tom Joyce, Secretary of the Police Commission.
Second.
All those in favor?
Abstain.
Now we're back in business. Okay, next on new business. This is kind of a personal kind of thing for me. As you know, if you were at my swearing-in ceremony at the Darien Town Hall, the Fairfield County Pipes and Drum Corps was there. That was set up through our Darien Police Department Honor Guard. The Fairfield County Pipes and Drums operate as a 501c3 charity, all duly registered. They operate on donations only. So not only do they do solemn ceremonies like department and military funerals, they do other events that are more positive like this one. The Darien Police Commission controls the Darien Police Department Gift Fund. This is separate and distinct from the Alarm Fund. I've been told that there's been no money expended out of this fund since 2012. There's ample funds there. I would request that the Commission consider making a $250 donation to the Fairfield County Pipes and Drums for their involvement in the swearing-in ceremony at the Town Hall.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
They were great.
Thank you very much.
What, the gift fund, is that, where does the money, we know where the alarm fund comes from.
Right. The gift fund, like this letter that came from the folks in Norwalk, sometimes there will be a check for $25 along with that. Thank you, your office, thanking our officers. That money would go into the gift fund. It's not often that we give gifts out of this fund. It's been 7 years, and we're still trying to get the exact figure that's in there. So there's certainly enough to cover
$250, yes. Again, I
Thank
think
you.
a good use of funds, they were great. Detective Bureau Sergeant's position.
Okay, so our general orders require us as a department, when we have a specialized position, to put it out to the officers that may be interested. In this case, it went out to all sergeants. With the retirement of Sergeant Bacuzzi, we need a detective sergeant in the Detective Bureau. As a result of that, Sergeant James Palmieri was the sole sergeant who expressed interest in that position at this moment. Not that we don't have other folks who would be interested in it, but as of right now, different things in people's lives, right now James Palmieri is the sole sergeant who applied for that position. Although it's a rarity that someone gets promoted to sergeant and does not go back in the field services division, at least for a little while, it's not unprecedented. It has happened here in the department before. I have full faith in James Palmieri's ability to be the Detective Bureau Sergeant. Our general orders say that I can make that appointment to that position with the concurrence of the Police Commission. So I would move that we would move James Palmieri, not move him out of the Detective Bureau, but from his youth detective position to the Detective Bureau Sergeancy.
I think it should be clear, he's currently in the Detective
He is
Bureau.
in the Detective Division, right. And the
Division.
Detective Sergeant's position has been a 2-year appointment. And we do that to ensure that we have a deep bench, that we have a lot of folks doing a lot of different things in the course of their career. As I told the commission several months ago, one of my main goals here as the chief is to ensure that we have a deep bench for succession planning and that we are always set to move forward when we have to fill these positions. I think he'll be a fine candidate there for the next couple of years, and I'm sure that in a 2-year time, we will have additional candidates that will be ready to go in there as well.
Do we need,
Sounds good to me.
do we need a motion? We don't, we just need to.
Just
We're good.
Thank you. Okay,
Now-
request from the
yes.
false alarm account, purchase of a rifle for the Southwest Emergency Response Team. I'm going to hand off to Captain Marin, who I think is going to hand to Sergeant Mastriani.
Okay, Captain Mayer and I, or Captain Shredders and I both have served on the Regional Emergency Response Team, which includes the division of marksman and observer teams. And we have always had Darien officer involved in those positions. Currently, Sergeant Mastriani is assigned in that capacity to the Southwest Regional Emergency Response Team and recently completed some marksman training. In completion of his training, we recognized that the weapon system that he's currently assigned is not only outdated, but fairly inadequate to serve in place for the purposes of what they need to accomplish in that position. Basically because it's the rifle that's assigned to him is over 25 years old, and it has consistently and as recent as the last month or so displayed inaccuracies. Maybe Andy can get more into the specifics of it, but the main difficulty is when you have to zero these weapons in, you expect and have confidence that it's going to stay in that setting, so to speak, for lack of a better term.
Right, so the rifle's losing is 0, so every time he has to qualify with it, the reliability is gone, and he has to re-zero the gun, which is, if he was on a call-out, it would be unacceptable. Basically, there's not a confidence in the system anymore that he has with the actual rifle and the optics that are on the gun.
Well, I don't know what this rifle is, but something that's 25 years old in this day and age seems to me old.
Well, one of the things we could have fell back on was some type of a maintenance log or maintenance record, and what both Captain Shredders and Sergeant Mastriani discovered in their training is every single round that is fired out of a weapon of this type needs to be recorded and documented, and also cleaning, maintenance, any type of repair records, and we just don't have that for this particular weapon, and you can see the reasons behind needing that. If we had that, we'd be able to at least determine or put a finger on the fact that a certain number of rounds have already gone through this rifle, kind of rendering it useless, and I think the average is about 10,000 rounds, and we're more than confident to be able to say that over 10,000 rounds have been through this weapon over 25 years. So there is a proposal that Andy worked on, and we're asking for authorization to use funds from the alarm fund to cover this. And the next question may be, well, why can't we put it in the budget? But the problem is there's an immediate need for it. Andy's in service with 3 other marksmen on the team. They have 4 marksmen as it is right now, and that's pretty understaffed as far as standards for a regional response team.
4 for the entire region.
For the entire 7 towns that we have?
6.
Six towns involved in our, theoretically speaking, 6 different jurisdictions within Lower Fairfield County that we would be responsible for.
What's the cost?
The cost is approximately $5,500. A lot of that cost is included is due to the optics system on it. And I was never able to serve in the capacity that Andy was, but this was unbeknownst to me that the optics of the rifle are used more than anything else. And Andy, would you mind commenting on
Yeah, I mean,
some
a lot
of the
of
purposes
people,
behind that?
yeah, the big misconception that a lot of people get are marksmen. They think the optic is solely used just for firing the weapon, accuracy shot. That's very important, but as a marksman, the most of what we do is surveillance, and we use the optic system to gather intelligence during callouts. That way we can relay that information to our team leaders, who relay it to the entry level, or the entry team who will be going into the structure or whatever it may be. So having quality, durable optic, quality glass, something with high magnification power, really goes a long way. So, and it's basically, you got the rifle itself and the optic, they're about the same cost each. So that's how, it is expensive, it is for a reason. So.
What type of rifle is it?
The one we're currently using is a Remington 700. It's very standard, police sniper rifle. This particular model, though, it is old, it is outdated. Captain Marin mentioned the fact that it's unknown amount of round counts went through the barrel. It's been through numerous hands. There's no maintenance log. The barrel is probably fouled out to the point where even if it gets replaced, it still won't, it's not capable of holding any accessories, in which we're looking into some night optics as well to go onto a rifle, being that most of the callouts are evening time hours. But the fact, just the liability of not having a maintenance log, and that's something I learned in sniper school, marksman school. It's, put it this way, if I went to a call out, God forbid I had to use it, I wouldn't feel confident using it. So it's at that.
And what's the new one?
The new one's an Accuracy International. It's a very, very well reputable company. They make quality equipment. In fact, they just sent one down here for me to test and evaluate. Today was the first day that I used it. A world of difference. I was very pleased the way it performs. Less recoil before the other rifles. This is another issue. It's definitely at the point where it was starting to bother my shoulder. But as far as accuracy goes, consistency, and I probably shot at least 100 rounds today. No issues whatsoever, and I intend on shooting a lot more rounds through the evaluation process.
So is it chambered in 308?
That's correct.
What's the glass on top?
It's a Night Force optic. The current optic that I'm running with has a magnification power of 10. This one is 20. So again, it'll make a world of difference. And like I said, we do a lot of surveillance, and we want to be able to get as much information about our targets, our threats, if there's any weapons involved, and at the same time, we're at a reasonable distance away from the hot zone, if you will. So the optic will serve.
Well, my sense is if we think we need one, we certainly need one that works. And it is if we think it's important enough to be in the RT and have it, we need to have a
In the course of their investigation of this weapon, this puts us in the low mid-range of
Right.
a weapon system. You can go up over $15,000 for something like this. I think what they're requesting, although expensive, I understand. I think it's a reasonable expenditure. And clearly, this type of weapon system, if it gets put into action, it has to work
Yes,
right.
there's no
It's going
excuse.
to be the end result of whatever
Correct.
we're working on. So We don't talk about weaponry all that much. It's not a topic we really want to talk about.
Right.
Kind of like a life insurance policy, you hope you don't have to use it.
Right.
But if you need it, you need it.
No, I think-
And I agree with the gentleman here that I think we need it.
Okay, well, do we need a motion, or do we just?
Yeah, so I move that we allocate $5,500 out of the false alarm account for the purchase of the new Accuracy International
I'll
rifle.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Traffic.
Traffic issues. I'm going to punt
Oh,
over to
wow, this is a-
over
this
to
is a-
Captain Shredders today for some traffic issues.
This is a change.
So, there is a request from Department of Public Works to extend the sidewalk on Locust Hill Road, on the south side of the road, between Oakings Highway South, just east of Delafield Island Road. So the new sidewalk would just be an extension, just east of Delafield Island to the end of Locust Hill Road. And then in accordance with that, they'd like to add 2 new crosswalks. So one crosswalk will be across Locust Hill Road at the intersection of Locust Hill and Oakings Highway South. And the second crosswalk would be on Oakings Highway South, parallel with I-95. So one would be going across Locust Hill, and then you make that crosswalk.
Oh, yeah, right.
Then you could also have a crosswalk across both lanes of Oakings Highway South towards the hill on Oakings Highway.
So looking at this, there will be signs, but they won't necessarily be lights. They'll be well signed, but the signs will not be lit.
Yeah. There's no cross, there's no.
We're also going to extend at the crosswalk, crossing across Locust Hill, we're going to extend the curve there and make like a handicap ramp on both corners.
The Commission may remember, this has been a long-term project to get an additional sidewalk there. This has been going on for several years with numerous residents' requests, and this is finally coming to fruition to get this sidewalk extension. So you will now have a sidewalk from the I-95 bridge all the way down to Tokenique School, a continuous sidewalk on that side of the street. Where the sidewalk now starts up by Settlers Trail between Old Kings Highway and
stops all the way
Settlers
up
Trail,
there?
there is no sidewalk
No, there's
until
no
you
sidewalk.
get nearly, up to.
Come all the way down the curb, there's no sidewalk.
There's currently no sidewalk.
So you cross over and you kind of bushwhack up to Settlers Trail on that curb. Yeah.
There was some question from the DPW. They thought they would get some questions as to why we couldn't put the sidewalk on the I-95 side of the road.
Then you have to cross over.
Then you have to cross it in
Right.
that area, that S curve. Really, we don't want to entice people to cross there. The safest place and the most logical place to expect people to cross is here at this intersection. So that's why it is laid out the way it is.
And there's a stop sign there.
And it's stop control, yes. So,
And this is slated for spring or summer of 2020.
so we do not, of course, install the sidewalks or vote to where do we install the sidewalks, but we do control the crosswalk installation. I think this is a well-vetted project by Ed Gentile at the DPW. I think it makes sense. Captain Shredders thinks it makes sense. I think we would support that the police, the LTAs, the police commission approving these crosswalks to go in at the appropriate time when the sidewalks go in.
No issue here.
We good? We need a motion on
Do we
that,
need a
too.
motion?
We need a motion.
So moved.
Second. All those in
Aye.
favor? Aye.
If anyone watching on TV happens to have questions about this sidewalk installation and/or the crosswalks, feel free to call Captain Shredders. I'm more than happy to speak to anyone out there. Like I said, this is a long-term thing, trying to get additional pedestrian amenities to try to make it as safe as possible in that area.
K-9 Argo.
And then Argo's had a rough go.
Start with Captain Marin, and I can jump in after he.
About 2 weeks ago, K-9 Argo suffered somewhat of a freak injury during some of his downtime. He was out exercising, and I don't know whether he was running for a ball or what, but he ended up being impaled by a sharp branch through his right hind leg. Thankfully, it didn't go through any structure. It was more of just a soft tissue injury, but it required emergency transport to the vet hospital while he was still impaled, and he had to undergo emergency surgery where he was put under anesthesia. No permanent damage, just stitched up, and in fact the stitches I believe came out today. So he will be back in service shortly, but in the meantime, he was scheduled to have a root canal due to damage from a canine tooth, and when he was under...
No pun intended.
Exactly. While he was under for that procedure, the vet had observed that he had several abscess teeth that needed to be removed. So
He's
rather
had
than
dental work.
scheduling more appointments, they took care of that while he was under for the initial procedure, and subsequently that we incurred some costs on that. Chief has.
Just for the record and complete transparency, the impaling injury, the surgery there was $563.15. Our vet here does give us very, very favorable rates to treat our canines. The doggy dentist, that's up in Salem, Connecticut. That was not an insignificant expenditure for the 3 root canals and 3 extractions, $3,099. And I approved that expenditure because he was now already scheduled for one. He was under anesthesia, and we realized the cost savings if we had to bring him back and put him under anesthesia again. Something that had to be done. We would do the same for our officers in an emergency situation, so he's part of our team here. It's not an insignificant expense, but something that had to be done.
As for the record, he was a little sore the day after the procedure for his leg, but as of right now, he's completely unfazed by any of what happened over the last week or so, and 100% back into service.
Okay.
Is that coming out of the false alarm?
That comes out of the false alarm. My understanding of the false alarm fund from both Chief Osborne and Chief Lavello is that expenditures on the K-9 are pretty much standard and standing to be expended out of the alarm fund.
That's my understanding
We
as
would
well.
come back and I would report to you what the expenditures are, but it doesn't have to be
Reapproved.
not every time. We try to keep it to as low as possible. That's all I think we have.
Anything else? Nope. All good? Meeting adjourned?
Meeting adjourned?
We
Yeah.
have no executive session to go into tonight.
Nope.
We do have to pick a next meeting.
Yes, we do.
I don't know where the
I have the calendar.
Paul Johnson calendar is.
Yeah, get that paper calendar out.
Yeah,
I should have wrapped one of them up for him for his last commission meeting.
The official one is next Wednesday. We're here in the morning anyways, right?
Right. Interviews next week. When would our next regularly scheduled meeting be, Jan? Do we know?
23rd.
October 16th.
16th. would be
That's
our-
it.
We're-
Because it's the 1st and 3rd, we have 20 October. So we jump into November.
I've been here for 6 years without missing a meeting, and now I'm not here.
In November?
Believe it or not, I'm doing the transatlantic crossing.
Oh,
I'm
is
not-
that the one? Yeah,
I'm a little out of
I didn't think
pocket.
you were doing it, I think your husband.
I'm
Very
going,
nice.
I'm going halfway to the Canary Islands. I am not here, unfortunately, I leave the 23rd, so that's the 23rd, the 30th, and if the wind is not blowing, I'm out on the 6th. We can do it on the
In the Canary Islands?
22nd, yeah, I can call in, but
Well, how's the 13th look?
13th is perfect,
13 November.
yes.
Does that work for you?
I'm on it now.
Oh, boy.
Is it possible to do it, if it's not a Wednesday, I don't know how flexible, Tuesday,
Tuesday, which
the
day?
22nd?
Of
So,
before you
yes,
leave?
we can do it 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks now.
Yeah, I can do Tuesday, 22nd. Can that work for you? October. Work for the 22nd.
I'm not around. I'm calling it a week. This is the 2 weeks. I'm gone the week of the 21st and the week of
11th.
11th. Those are the only 2 weeks I'm traveling for the rest of
When
the
do you
year.
say you get back in?
Can we do it Friday the 8th? I know that's
Friday, 8 November?
8 November, is that
Yeah.
a, we could do it early in the
I
morning?
can't do it in the morning, I can do it in the afternoon.
Totally free,
4:30?
That would be fine for me.
totally fine.
I mean, it's late in the afternoon, but it works for me.
11, 8, 4:30.
You guys okay with it, Chief?
Fine.
Good enough? No?
11, 8, 4:30?
22nd. That's really the first day I'm back.
We can take the minutes. Yeah, no problem. I think I can handle that one.
I am totally fine, Friday at 4:30,
Okay.
11, 8.
Great.
Delay everyone's weekend, but
That's okay. No worries.
I promise I will not be truly out of pocket. So is that really the only time? I guess it is. Kevin and I do not line up.
So we're good?
Yep,
Motion to adjourn?
yep.
Adjourn?
Yep, we adjourn.
Adjourn.